Let's take a look at how we can load media at runtime, images and video and so on, that we don't know about at the time when we build our application necessarily. So what I've got here is a standard solution. We've got a Silverlight project and a website that's referencing as a test project. And in the Silverlight project, I've started a little piece of UI in my XAML file here. And all it really is that we have a border, and inside that border is an image, and then we have a button that says load image. So you can see here we have a border, and then we have an image which is called my image. And then we have a button which says load image. Let's put a click handler on this. Let's say click equals on load image, something like that. And let's jump to the code behind that. And what I want to do is dynamically load an image. So let's write an event handler on load image. And let's let the user select the image that they want to load. So we'll use the open file dialog. We'll say open file dialog equals new open file dialog. We looked at this in a different video. I'll just set the filter here, which will say JPEG files, star.jpg, star.jpg, or maybe all files, which will be star.star or star.star. And then what we'll do is we'll say if dialog.showDialog equals true, then the user's made a selection. And what we want to do is get the file that they've got and use it. So what we can do is say using stream, let's say stream equals dialog.selectedFile.openRead. That gives us a stream. And then we want to set this as the image that we've got on the screen. The way in which we do that is by using a class called bitmapImage. So we can say bitmapImage, let's say bitmapImage equals new one of those. And then we can say bitmapImage.setSource, passing it the stream we've just opened on the file system. And then we can get the image that we have in the UI, and we can say source equals bitmapImage. It's worth saying, by the way, that if we just had a URI here, we can very easily construct this with a URI. So if we had something less complicated than a stream, then that's just fine. Let's go build that. Let's press F5. See if we get our UI on the screen in the Silverlight app. So there's our button. My border isn't working exactly as expected, but that's okay. Let's click on the load image. Let's get the dialog. Let's go to C, Windows, Web, Wallpaper. Let's pick an image, image 18. And bingo, there we get our image loaded up on the screen. So it's pretty easy to go ahead and load an image like this at runtime, whether we have a URI for it or whether we just have a stream for it. In this case, the stream is coming from the file system. Let's go back to Visual Studio. Now, what if we wanted to load something like a video at runtime? Let's go back to our UI. And let's go, actually my grid I realized has 3 rows in it. So let's go and take a second row here, and we'll put a border into that as well. Let's just copy this piece of UI. We'll put a border, but we'll set this into grid.row equals 1. So I'll move that down a little bit. And we'll just set a height on it just to make it size itself to some height. And instead of having an image in there, let's go ahead and have a media element. And we don't need this. We'll give it a little margin. We'll call it my video, and we'll take the height away because we've set that on the border already. So now we've got a media element as well, which is called my video. So let's go back to our code behind, and let's subvert the load image button. It's called load image, but let's make it load a video. So we'll change this to WMV files, and we'll have star.wmv, and we'll use star.wmv there. And then if the user opens up the dialog and selects a file, then we don't want to create an image anymore and set the my image. What we want to do is load up a video. And I think in fact if we try and dispose of the stream like this here, we'll end up with an error. So what we'll do is not dispose of the stream, we'll hand that over to the video. So we'll just get the stream, and then we'll say my video dot set source, and we'll just go ahead and pass it that stream. Notice again that if we had a URI, we can just set the source, which is a URI, so that would be easier to do. And then let's set the video playing. Let's press F5. Let's load what says it's load image, but load video. Let's go to D demo. I have a video here. And we can see we've loaded the video at runtime and started it playing. So that was pretty easy to do as well. We can see how we can load images from the file system, we can load video from the file system. It might be, for instance, that you're getting your images from somewhere else, like a web service or something like that, which just returns a bunch of bytes to you. So what would that look like? Well, let's have a look at a quick web service. We looked at calling web services in other videos, But I have a simple web service in my project here. It's called image service. And if we take a quick look at the interface for that, you can see that it has a single operation called getImage. You pass it the name of the image and it returns you a bunch of bytes. If we look at the implementation of that, we'll see that all it's doing is file.readAllBytes. It's using the path that the service is hosted on and looking in an images subfolder. And if we look at the way this is hosted, we can see there's an image subfolder here with image 1, 2, and 3.jpg. So the idea is that we can call this service passing image 1, 2, or 3, and it will return that just as a bunch of bytes, a byte array. Okay, so that's fine. Let's go and see that we've added a service reference already to that web service. So we have a service reference here, proxy code. So I just did that with add service reference to that particular service, and it generated me this code here, proxy code. So let's refactor our UI a little bit so that we can go ahead and call this service. Let's go back to our page.xaml. I'm going to take away some of this UI. Instead of having this this media element that we've got here, in the second row of this grid, I'm just going to have a text box. We'll give it a name of text image. So we're going to type in what image we want to load. Grid.row is 1 in that case, and I'll just set a height on it of say 48 just to make it reasonably small. And so we've got a text box in there. It's not looking very pretty, but it doesn't really matter too much. So what we'll do now is when you click on the button and want to load an image, let's go to the code behind. And we're not using an open file dialog anymore. What we want to do is call that web service. So we need to use a proxy, so we'll use proxy code.image service client. That's the proxy. We'll create one of those. And then, as we know, this thing will be asynchronous because all proxies are in Silverlight. So we need to handle the getImageCompleted event, and let's say onImageCompleted, something like that. Let's just insert that handler and then shorten that code down so that you can see it. And then we say proxy.getImage, and we pass it the text, which comes from our image.text, I think is what we called it. We're just lacking IntelliSense because we haven't built yet. So we just pass it that to go off and get that image. At the point where this comes back, what we're going to get is a bunch of bytes. Let's say that bytes that make up the image is going to be e.result. Note that I should really be checking the error here as well, but let's assume that this worked, which is a crazy assumption, but let's assume it worked just for the purpose of the video. And then we need to go from this set of bytes here to an image again on the screen. So probably the most cheap and cheerful way we can do that is by using a memory stream. Let's just say stream equals a new memory stream. We'll pass it those bytes that we've already got. And then we can use the same approach that we used previously. So we can create a bitmap image. Let's call that bitmap image. A new one of those. We say bitmap image.setSource and we pass it the stream. And then we can go and say myimage.source equals bitmap image. Should be able to build, be able to press F5. Now when we're calling our web service, we only have image 1, 2 and 3.jpg. So image1.jpg, we should be able to call that service, get an image. So what's happening there? That's interesting. We click load image and nothing happens. Let's go into our code and put a breakpoint on this. Let's go and press load image. Do you remember how I said that this would just work? Well, it probably just didn't. Let's take a look at the error that we're getting, and it says the maximum message size of 65K has been exceeded. You quite often see things like this if you're shipping around images and so on with WCF. So let's stop debugging, let's fix this. Let's go to our configuration, and our configuration says max message size is 65K. Just to be wasteful, I'll set that to something like 65 megs, and we'll do the same thing on the buffer size. Let's go and press F5 again. So we've increased the maximum size of messages that WCF is happy to send and receive, or in fact receive in that case. We can set image1.jpg, let's say load image. I think we've still got a breakpoint, so let's get rid of the breakpoint and press F5. There is image1.jpg. Let's ask for image2.jpg from that service. There it is. Let's ask for image3.jpg. And so on and so forth. There are only 3 images actually that my service serves. So hopefully you get an idea as to how we could get these things quite dynamically from a web service, and using the same approach as we saw pretty much with loading up a stream from the file system, except here we're creating our own memory stream to represent the image. So hopefully you get an idea from the videos how we can load things dynamically at runtime around video and images and so on.